Okay. All right, now we got this, right? Let's practice. Okay, good. So, in the next 15 minutes, I'm going to talk to you about what teaming is, what a teaming culture looks like in the cardiovascular world. And I'll also share with you the positive impact of teaming on patient experience. So teaming is, as Dr. Oliver mentioned earlier, it's the dynamic activity that involves coordinating and collaborating without stable team structures. Now, I don't know about you, but working outside of a structure is a little bit daunting, right? Given that the healthcare world is based on structured processes and we're governed by policies and procedures. But, as we have learned from 2020, our structures had to be changed a little bit, and we had to become fluid because there's a demand from this ever-changing healthcare landscape. That there's a saying, change is the only thing constant, right? So we have to be agile, which is one of Mount Sinai values that we live up to. So teaming culture is comprised of 3 values: curiosity, passion, and my favorite is empathy. In a teaming culture, I'm going to start with curiosity, right? Curiosity is what drives people to find out what others know, what they bring to the table, and what they can add. It's how innovation was pioneered by the great minds in history. It's what drives the what ifs, and I think Dr. Oliver mentioned that earlier as well. And then there's passion, and passion is what fuels enthusiasm and effort. It makes people care enough to stretch and go all out. It's what drives us to move forward and upward through changes and adversities like COVID and the great resignation that came with it. And then lastly, there's empathy, and this is my favorite. It's the ability to see another's perspective, which is absolutely critical to effective collaboration under pressure, which is, as Michelle mentioned earlier, we're constantly under pressure. So these 3 pillars are characteristics that create a strong teaming culture. So teaming and patient experience. So how do we tie teaming with patient experience? So some of you may know one of the questions in the HCAHPS, or the patient satisfaction, patient experience surveys, about teamwork. And the question goes, how well did the staff work together to care for you? So understanding patient experience is a key step in moving toward patient-centered care. By looking at various aspects of patient experience, one can assess the extent to which patients are receiving care that is respectful of and responsive to individual patient preferences, needs, and values. So evaluating patient experience along with other components such as effectiveness and safety of care is essential to providing a complete picture of a healthcare quality. So how does 7 do teaming? Well, in 7 we didn't reinvent the wheel. We actually just used the tools and processes and the initiatives that are already in place for us. All we had to do was make sure we implement these initiatives with, of course, with a passion, with curiosity, and with empathy. We really just basically went back to basics. So daily cath lab throughput. So cath lab throughput huddle this is an interdepartmental collaboration that we do twice a day. So we do it once in the morning, and we do it another one in the afternoon at around 3 o'clock. What happens during the cath lab throughput huddle is the 7 charge nurse, the charge nurses for both post-cath units and the charge nurse for cath lab, they collaborate and they discuss throughput challenges, the flow. Will we have enough beds for the afternoon? Will we have enough nurses? If we have any sick calls, what do we need to do? How do we make the process run smoothly with these challenges? And then we have the daily morning and evening huddles. So during our daily morning and evening huddles, that's when we have the opportunity to talk about situational and environmental awareness. This is actually a very important part of our day. This is when we get to do shout outs, right? This is when we talk about, we kind of vent a little bit too. We say, oh my God, we have a difficult night, or we had a difficult shift, but kudos to, kudos to either a single person or kudos to everyone in a team, because even though we have, new nurses or a difficult night, everybody came together. So the huddles actually is a great opportunity to set a positive tone. I find that if I come in the morning and my mood is sad, it affects the whole unit. And then it's the same thing if the charge nurse's mood is happy or they start saying, giving kudos, it affects the flow of the unit throughout the day. Agree? Agree, okay. Oh, sorry. And then we have the, getting too excited there, I don't want you to see that yet. Okay. The daily interdisciplinary rounds. So this is our daily rounds where, fascinatingly enough, from my point of comparison, I have a point of comparison between the other institutions that I've worked for. The 7 East morning interdisciplinary huddles, the nurses actually present their patients. They present their cases. I have never seen this in other institutions, but maybe I haven't seen enough. But this is fascinating because the nurses run the show. But of course, this is not just all about nursing. This is where collaboration happens. And this is where I say great minds think alike. And guess what? We're going to be referring. We're going to use your cardiac rehab now, right, Tom? We're going to mention that. So our interdisciplinary rounds, our main goal is discharge before noon. That's why you'll see later why we're superstars in 7 East. And then I keep on going back to that. So then leadership rounding. I think this is one of my favorites as well. Leadership rounding, so myself and my assistant nurse manager, we dedicate a block of time where we see patients. This is my favorite because this is where I go back to nursing, right? We're in nursing because we care, we have compassion, we have passion for caring for our patients. But leadership rounding is not only a chance for me to go back to my nursing passion, but also a chance for me to see the patient's environment. How are they feeling? Checking up on them. Do they have everything that they need? Are all their questions answered? I always ask, who's your nurse? Or how's your nurse doing? And when they know their nurse's name, I make sure I tell them, please remember your nurse's name. I give them my business card, I write their name, because every month we have a celebratory breakfast every time a nurse's name is mentioned in the patient comments and patient satisfaction survey. So of course they do that. They always make sure that they grab a piece of paper and they write their nurse's name. Unit-based councils. So I'm sure we're not the only ones, but we have unit-based councils in 7 East 4 North, where for the new nurses who don't know what unit-based councils are, this is where staff get together and they talk about, what can we improve in our unit. So unit-based councils examples are to prevent pressure ulcer injury, falls, cavity, and CLABSI. And then we have patient experience meetings. And the patient experience meetings are another interdepartmental collaborative initiative that we do. We do one monthly and we do one quarterly. We just had one yesterday, actually, and it was very fascinating how all the different disciplines from not just nursing, but the doctors. Dr. Sharma was there, Dr. Keeney was there, and we had the case managers and the social workers. And we discussed and talked about patient experience scores and what's our trend? Are we heading the right way? Is there something that we need to work on? And how do we do it? So I know I keep on going to this slide. So this slide, I think, speaks for itself. It speaks volume. So what happened to patient experience scores after we reinforced all those initiatives that we talked about? I'm sure you've heard from the U.S. News World and U.S. News and World Report that Mount Sinai is #1 in New York. #1 in New York for cardiology and #4 in the world. So that's not fake news, that's real news. And this is it. That speaks volume, right? So this is for those of you who are not familiar with this, for the new nurses especially, this is a patient experience or HCAP scores. A week after patients are discharged, they get surveys, and they are asked 26 to 29 questions, and the 26 to 29 questions are then broken down into 11 composites. To get a green, so these are all green, you have to meet the goal. And for a unit this big, which is 7 East, we discharge about 300 to 400, the surveyors, actually, the patient responses that we get, 300 to 400 a year of response. This is what happens when you do teaming. This is what teaming does. Not just patient experience, but this is a very rewarding thing for the nurses to see. And the other impact of it, not just patient experience, but some data that we have, is that our DBN, which is our discharges before noon, it increased from 26% in 2022 to 37% in 2023. Our HAPI also decreased from 6 in 2022 to 2 in 2023. And then our CLABSI and CAUTI continued to remain 0 from 2022 to 2023. Maya Angelou, right? Good old Maya Angelou. I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. So just key takeaways. 7 East didn't do anything differently. This is something that we've been doing. You just have to do it diligently and consistently. But of course, you have to do it with passion, with curiosity, and what's the last one? Empathy. Thank you all.